Mhm. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. This is Loading Snacks, Google Hangout, State of the Gaming Industry following E3. With me, like normal, is the dude Coop. What up, Coop?
Hello, world. Hello,
Oh,
everyone.
world don't want to talk to you, Coop. Just me. Just me. I want to talk to you. And joining us for the first time ever, our good friend, the outbreak of Average Bros Reviews.
What's up,
Say what's
guys?
up to the people.
How's it going, guys? I'm Outbreak, co-founder of Average Bros Reviews. We review movies, games, music, all the same stuff that you hear about from Loading Snacks. We cover a little bit of the news too. Definitely excited to talk about E3. It was a huge year, one of the biggest years of E3 that I've ever seen. So I'm definitely excited to talk about what we got on hand for tonight.
No doubt, no doubt. Very happy to have you. Uh,
Thank you.
for
As
those of
well,
you out there listening, uh, I've known the outbreak for a number of years now. We don't always see eye to eye on what's happening in the industry, but definitely respect each other's opinion. Uh,
Exactly.
there's absolutely no doubt about that. Now, nobody respects Coop. We're working on that. We're gonna get you some respect, Coop.
Only his talent at Mortal Kombat. That's all I can respect.
Yeah. Well, I don't even that's waning a little bit. I don't know what's going on, Coop.
Bobby's already a victim. Bobby's a victim.
Yeah, well, all right. Hey, listen, I just want to put the word out right now. Coop is under the weather. He's not feeling real well. He said he had some bad sushi. I don't know if that's what it is, but he said he had some bad sushi. Now we're coming to you guys on the day after 4th of July. So happy Independence Day to all of you out there. And without any further ado, we're kind of going to get into the state of the gaming industry. And this is something that I did one of these last year. I didn't do it as a hangout, but did kind of post something that just kind of my personal opinion on where we sat in the gaming industry. Um, something I like doing as we kind of get past all of the overcast that is E3 and kind of can look a little more clearly at all of what's happening and get a little bit beyond the trailers and the hype and the excitement and kind of see where we really are as a whole. So, and this may be something that we'll address as we come out of all the big shows. So shows like Gamescom, maybe even Paris Games Week, Tokyo Game Show, just to kind of see, what the industry has in store for us and where we're headed with a lot of things. So without going uh, too far, the first thing I really want to get into, gentlemen, is hardware. So let's start by talking about Sony and where Sony is with hardware. When I say that, I'm talking PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, Morpheus. Those are the main ones. Now, we can talk a little bit about Vita TV, things of that nature, but that's kind of where I am. So let's start with the PS4 in terms of hardware, what we have, where we are, what we think. Um, I will personally start by saying that I have seen that Sony has kind of put the word out that they're looking at introducing a couple of new versions of the PlayStation 4 that maybe have better RAM, um, things of that nature. Not necessarily a larger. Actually, they did announce a larger hard drive. They did announce a larger, a 1 terabyte system. Um, so I think that's a big deal. The system itself, still for all intents and purposes, is the most powerful system that's available as far as the console is concerned. So overall, what do you guys feel? What do you think about the PS4 and where it is as a piece of hardware?
I think that I guess it's due for that time to have some type of upgrade to the hardware itself. Um, I mean, especially coming up with the holidays and things like that. we all kind of saw a terabyte coming or a bigger hard drive coming.
Right.
With any system, not even just PlayStation, but I mean, it had to be done. But we'll see exactly what type of, I guess, what bundles they'll do with it as well, and if it might be slimmer, different colors. They've been doing different colors for a while now. So I mean, I guess we'll just see when how it all pans out, holiday season, because I'm pretty sure that's when it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen, they've announced some bundles. There's a Batman bundle. Japan has gotten a lot of bundles, monograms and stuff like that we haven't seen. What about you, Outbreak? What do you see? What do you think? What do you like? What don't you like?
Well, I think coming out of the gate, at launch, PlayStation 4, like you said, it's the most powerful system
Right.
on the market. But I think you kind of got to adapt. Like, just because you come out and you're the best, how are you going to continue to be the best?
Right.
And we saw a lot this year. I know we're not on them yet, but we saw a lot from Microsoft this year. But we didn't hear a whole lot about the hardware from Sony in regards to the PS4. We heard about some other stuff, but I think, an expanded hard drive had to come out. I mean, both my systems, both my Xbox One and my PS4 are full. I need to get an external hard drive or upgrade or what have you. But they didn't really show anything innovative at all about the PS4. They showed some great games coming out, but they didn't really show anything new hardware-wise.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. I think that the system, the power of the system is not something that's in question. What I think is in question is, again, we're talking state of the entire industry. But one of the things that's happening is digital is moving much faster, I think, than people realized it was going to happen. I think that people now are seeing it as something that's actually viable. And so, 500 gigabytes of space is not enough. And so a terabyte was something that was necessary. Not when you have games that are coming out that are 50 gigs, 60 gigs. But what I would like to see Sony do, what I think is the most important thing for Sony to do, is Sony needs to either do an update to the system, assuming that they can handle it from a software side, that will allow either a larger hard drive to be installed within the system, or that will enable you to connect an external hard drive. So currently the issue to me with the system is that you cannot connect an external drive to play your games from, or even just to store other things on. And yes, you can take the internal 500 gig or terabyte out and put a new hard drive in it, but the maximum hard drive you can put in it is only 2 terabytes. And that's not going to be enough either. And so I really think they need to be looking at ways that they're going to be able to allow people to continue to make digital purchases on their system without having to go back and erase stuff from their internal hard drive. They need to allow the ability to add an external hard drive. They do that, and I think they really have something going that would allow them to move forward with current hardware and not have to do a complete redesign. I hope it's something they can turn on from the software side, so that it's not something where if you already have a system, you can't take advantage of it without buying something new. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anything else stand out about hardware? What do you think in terms? Here's another thing that I would like to see Sony do. I would like to see Sony push, and again, we haven't gotten to Microsoft or to Nintendo just yet, but Nintendo, in my opinion, one of their hurdles is their controller, the gamepad, and really giving you a good reason to own it. Right now, I don't think that Sony is pushing to have developers give you a great reason to make use of that controller. And that controller has a lot of great options on it, with the touchpad and things like that. And there were a couple games that used it a couple years ago when the system originally dropped, but now we're not really seeing that. You're not really seeing even a differentiator that says, okay, well, yeah, this game is available on multiple platforms, but on our platform, you can do this, but you can't do, say on the Xbox, because you don't have this cool controller that does this.
Right.
So I would like to see them push for some innovation. Hopefully, we'll see, maybe some of Sony's uh, develop in-house development, first-party studios make use of it. Maybe we'll see some things with Uncharted or something like that. But that's the other thing I'd really like to see them do from a hardware standpoint, with the PS4 itself, is take advantage of that.
Yep.
Vita. Let's just let's just talk about it.
I think.
Go ahead.
I mean, just up front, Vita is an advantage that Sony has over Microsoft because Microsoft doesn't have a handheld console in terms of console gaming.
Correct.
For those people who do like handhelds, I mean, I like handhelds a lot, but I'm perfectly satisfied with my 3DS. I have no reason to buy a Vita at this point. But there is a lot of stuff that you can do with the Vita that I don't think a lot of people realize. Like, if you have the Vita, you can play. I'm not sure if all games are accessible, but I think most of them are. You can play whatever game is in your PlayStation 4 on your Vita while you're not home.
Right. As long as you're
And
connected. Yeah.
Right, and that's awesome.
I agree.
That's a really cool. That's just a really cool feature. That alone, I think, is worth it to own one if you're somebody who's really heavy into gaming. If you like playing Call of Duty or something like that, you can play it on the fly. You can play it on your break at work or whatever when you're sitting in the break room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That is a huge standpoint that PlayStation has, with the Vita. But just like we talked about before, Gage, when it was like, what do they have to show at E3 for the Vita? And you were like, nothing. So it's like,
Right.
The Vita itself, standalone without the PS4, right now it's almost nothing.
Right.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I just finished doing my summary of the Sony press conference from E3, and there's nothing. There's nothing putting any focus on the Vita at
Nothing
all.
coming.
Right. Just an afterthought.
Yeah, I mean, look, Andrew House came out and said, that at least in the US, the Vita is considered a legacy console, which means you're not going to get AAA developed titles for the system anymore. Period. So, again, in talking the grand scheme of things, the state of gaming, handheld gaming has kind of made its way towards mobile, towards cell phones and tablets and things of that nature. And spending the kind of money that you would have to spend to own a Vita on its own, there isn't enough for the Vita. There are a lot of great games you can play. There's a lot of great indie titles. There's tons to play on Vita. There's no doubt about that. But I think the misstep is that the Vita was originally marketed as you can essentially play PS3 games on the go. This is a system that will allow you to get console quality gaming while you're on the move. That was technically still at the current generation at that time. I mean, it was PS3. But in developing games, like Uncharted Golden Abyss, you got one or two of those, and then that was it. And so it became this really great indie platform. But outside of that, there isn't really a whole lot of life for it. And I even thought there might be a second coming with the Vita TV, because it's going to let you play Vita games on your TV, use your PS3 controller, do it on your TV, use that also as a way to do the same thing the Vita does, which, again, you can access your PlayStation 4, play your games that are on your hard drive or that are in the disk drive, as long as your PlayStation is in sleep mode. This is something you can hook up to a separate TV in your house somewhere, and as long as you're connected to the same network, you can play your PlayStation essentially from any room in your house. Those are brilliant things. The Sony ecosystem is almost unmatched. Technically, at the moment, it's unrivaled. The question is, how does Sony make the Vita a viable thing for people to get so that you could take advantage of the kinds of things you can do with the PS4? And in my opinion right now, the only real way to do that is to eat the cost and put it in the box with the PlayStation 4. Even if you up the price a little bit and say, well, you're getting both of these, and here's the reasons why this is a good thing to have. Um, and so maybe we see that in terms of PlayStation 4 bundles. It got talked about for a long time. I don't think it's going to happen because, again, they've kind of decided it's a legacy thing here in the U.S. But maybe.
Well, a good question I think at this point is it too late
I
to revive a reason for someone to get the Vita? Like, I'm not going to go back now and buy, a dated console. There's no reason for me to go to the store and buy a PSP or, a regular DS or something like that. So it's like at this point, they kind of, like I said, at E3 at their press conference, they didn't really announce a whole lot about the Vita.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and they're really treating it as an afterthought. So, is there a way that they could revive the need for it without putting out a new iteration of it or a new version of it?
I'll be honest, I don't know if there's a good way to do it, especially if they maintain the price point that they're currently at.
Yeah.
I think what the plan was to be able to take advantage of PlayStation Now and be able to use that as like, well, you can't, it's not just play your PS4 games, but play your old PS3 games, PS1 games, PS2 games, pay for this service, and now you have a way to play and access those games from anywhere on the go as long as you have one of these. And
That'd have been a great idea. That'd have been
right.
great. Yeah.
And I would have been willing to bet that they had marketing plans in place if they had gotten PlayStation Now running the way it needs to run to be viable. I could see marketing plans that would include the Vita and saying, hey, if you get this Vita, you get such and such two free months of PlayStation Now, or something like that. That would be great. With PlayStation Now not hitting on all cylinders like it needs to, and we'll talk about that in a second. With that not hitting on all cylinders like it needs to, I think that effectively is what killed the Vita here. I think they had a plan for resurgence and to try to make the Vita something that would be, something that they could make money on here in the U.S. And now I think that's done. And I think that's why they didn't mention it at all. Like, there's still stuff coming, but most of it is like cross-buy or cross-play or something along those lines. So it's kind of like if you buy it for the PS4, you play it on the Vita too. It's still a great thing. And they still have, with PlayStation Plus, I mean, you're still getting great games for the Vita if you have one. So it's like, if you do own one, everybody I know that has a Vita is exceptionally happy with it.
Yeah. I think the small... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's just trying to get people to go get one now that don't have one.
Right. I think the smallest step they could make at getting people interested in purchasing a Vita is to bundle a game with the Vita that's cross-buy for PS4. Because the only bundle out there right now is the Borderlands 2 bundle.
Right.
And most people bought Borderlands 2 on PS3 or 360, and the ones who didn't, that do like Borderlands, have the Handsome Collection. Right. So what's the need? I don't need Borderlands 2 on another console. Give me something.
Run really well on the Vita. That's the other.
Right. Yeah. Well, bundle it with a game where it's like, all right, well, I could buy this, $60 game for my PS4, or I could buy a Vita, basically cutting $60 off the cost of the Vita, and I'm getting the game. I now have the game for both systems.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. Like, my father has a Vita, and he pretty much just plays the AAA type games, or usually sports games too. So he came to me like a month ago. He was like, "What's coming out for the Vita? Is Vita doing anything? Like, I feel like I bought this for no reason." So it's it's pretty funny to see the mixed reactions with it.
Look, I mean, I think that what you're talking about is a great idea, but I don't think that I think that what it would cost a development studio to make a game that would work on both the Vita and the PlayStation 4. Unless you're just talking about, look, hey, buy the Vita, you get this PlayStation 4 game for free, it's a download, so as long as you're connected to Wi-Fi with your Vita, you'll be able to play this game, for free. I mean, you're not going to get something like a Borderlands where you basically get a copy of it for the PS4 and you get a copy of it for the Vita, because the strength of the Vita doesn't have the ability to play those games. So, Again, that's what happened with Borderlands. If Borderlands had worked well, we may have seen a resurgence then. Again, I think that was another plan because Sony put the money behind Gearbox to make that happen. And so it didn't, because it didn't work well. But with that said, I mean, unless there's any other thoughts on that, I would kind of like to get into Morpheus and kind of what we think going forward with Morpheus. So any other thoughts on Vita?
No, I'm down with going on to Morpheus.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Morpheus. Sony's E3 press conference did not have much in terms of Morpheus. It really didn't have anything in terms of Morpheus. But
Yeah.
I actually personally expected that because Morpheus is not something you can really show people on stage. It's something that, with VR as a whole, it's something that you kind of actually have to experience, which
Right.
when we get to the VR portion of it, we'll kind of get into that. You know, people who are experiencing it are saying it's great, but if you're watching at home or if you're reading about it, I mean, it sounds cool, but right now, if you haven't experienced it, then it's kind of like 3D for gaming, you know, or whatever, with TVs and all that kind of stuff, where it's like, it's neat, kind of a little thing, but I don't know if I really want to put this thing on my head every time and, you know, whatever. But I think it's very interesting that Sony has decided to dive head first into the VR camp with something of their own that makes use of the Move technology from PS3 that they did incorporate into the PS4 controllers. I think that's brilliant. It sounds like it works well. I haven't tried it. But we know it's not something we're going to see this year. We know it's supposed to be first quarter of next year. And that's about all the information we have about it other than what games are going to come. So, are you excited about Morpheus? Is it something that you want to buy?
I would say so, because even like when we had one of our earlier episodes, we were talking about the pushbacks that were happening and how some of the game pushbacks could possibly be towards the Morpheus as well. So I
Right.
guess it's really interesting to see how that would combine with the games and your Uncharted's and your all the games they announced at E3 that could possibly come with a Morpheus as well.
Right.
So it's interesting, yeah.
About you, Outbreak?
Virtual reality is a real big deal to me. I'm super excited for everything VR that's coming out, and they didn't show a whole lot of Morpheus, but I'm big into Sony. I like Sony a lot. I really am excited to see what they end up bringing to the table and what they potentially try to do to one up the competition, if they do anything. But yeah, I think virtual reality is going to be the very near future of gaming.
Yeah, agreed.
I agree. Now, there wasn't really anything shown during their press conference, but there was a lot of stuff in terms of what was available on the show floor for people to see and to try out and to experience, and there were new things that hadn't been there before. Again, people seem to feel really, really good about the Morpheus and how well it works. And let's just be as open as possible. Sony is a hardware company. They know how to make good hardware, solid hardware that is quality. So I don't have any doubts about their ability to do that. VR as a whole, I do have some concerns about. I have concerns about cost. That's probably the biggest thing for me. Is what's it going to cost to get this into your home, connected to your PlayStation 4? Now, I will say that I think that there is an inherent advantage in the fact that Morpheus is being designed for a home console to take advantage of what a home console can do and home console gaming, because the competition, which technically is like your Oculus, your Valve Vive, I mean, there's stuff that Samsung's doing with cell phones or whatever, but in terms of like full-on, full-fledged gaming, what you're going to need in terms of a computer that can run an Oculus or that can run a Valve Vive versus having a PlayStation 4 already in your home, I certainly think is huge points for Sony as a whole. I think it's really smart. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think it puts them in a great position. As long as the price point is right, comparatively speaking, the price point is probably going to be lower than, in terms of like, I have to buy this physical piece, it's got to connect to my PlayStation, versus, with say an Oculus, I've got to buy this physical piece that has to connect to my computer, but then I also have to have a computer that's powerful enough to run the software. Where this is going to be designed from the ground up to work with the PlayStation 4. I think that is an inherent advantage. I think it's really, really smart. I'm very interested to see what they come with, but I'm hoping we will see more and get some more definitive answers about what it is, what it's going to cost, what it's going to be, when we're going to see it as we get closer to things like Tokyo Game Show, because again, it is supposed to come out first quarter of next year, which means by the end of March next year. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a smart move, because as interested as I might be in something like Oculus, I'm not necessarily ready to plunk down the kind of money I'll have to get a PC that can run an Oculus, if that makes sense. Anything else? Any specific things about Morpheus you guys want to hit on, or you ready to move on to our next subject?
Until they show more, there's not really too much more to talk about.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Sony? What's going on with Sony this year? What they're bringing to the table? State of Sony, again, in terms of the state of gaming. Any final thoughts?
No.
You're pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I will say my personal thoughts on Sony right now are that I'm a little bit disappointed in where they are with first-party games. They have an incredible lineup for this holiday, but I'd like to see more in terms of first-party. And that's not to say that what they have isn't going to be great. The unfortunate side of it is that Sony in the last 10 years, really longer than that, has built this wonderful reputation for having these powerhouse, wonderfully great first-party games, which I think is what pulled a lot of people into the PlayStation 4 to begin with. And we haven't really seen them make good use of that. And I'm still wondering a little bit exactly what it is that's keeping them from doing that. Like, I can understand announcing something like Uncharted 4 and then saying, look, we need a little more time, let's get it right. But they have a lot, and we'll talk about the studios, but they have a lot of studios. And it just makes me wonder what's going on with those studios. And I'm concerned because I know that PlayStation is making money for Sony, period, especially considering the number of consoles that have been sold. But we also know that Sony as a company is in trouble financially, and pretty much the only thing that's making money for Sony is the PlayStation. And I'm hoping that somewhere along the back lines, it's not having an effect on those studios and keeping those studios from being able to make the high quality. I'm ready for a freaking SOCOM and a Siphon Filter.
I'm ready for Crash Bandicoot.
I'm with you on that one, Bobby.
Yeah, I agree with that though. I would love to party studios, and I know, like you said, they have a ton of studios. They definitely have a lot of people that should be bringing out some heavy hitters for them.
Yeah, there was a lot of anticipation for Sony that really didn't get talked about gaming wise, and just pretty much gaming wise for me personally. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say, really. I think Gage got cut out for a second.
We're good. We can keep it going.
Yeah,
I want a new Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, I saw. I saw a lot of things on the. I saw a lot of things on the actual, Facebook rumors that there was going to be a Crash Bandicoot, things like that, but we didn't really.
I think it was all just hype.
Yeah.
It was just somebody trying to stir the pot.
How do you feel about Microsoft's hardware? what they brought to the table for E3.
Well, one thing that blew my mind was the HoloLens. I mean, I
Yeah,
know, like I had heard some stuff about it, but seeing that, I love the way that they demonstrated it at E3. Like, it was just really impressive. Like the way that it looks like it's going to function. I think that's incredible.
yeah, it looked really incredible. It
Because
definitely impressed me.
I think,
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
I think as far as system wise itself, the Elite controller was another thing that impressed me about Microsoft.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not a huge like hardcore gamer. I don't in terms of games that the Elite controller would really be beneficial for. But I still want to own one. Like I just want to know like what it's like to play like that. I know that there's controllers out there like that, but I think it's cool that Microsoft's releasing a first party one.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, when I saw like the trailer they had for the controller, it actually made me feel like, yeah, that would actually be useful here, or that would be useful there, things like that. So, I mean, at first I thought $150 may be a little too much for it, but I mean, I don't know, it may be worth actually getting.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think overall with the Microsoft's hold on one second. Gauge. Um, I think overall the way that they Microsoft's press conference was better than Sony's.
hmm
I have yet to watch Nintendo's. I've been running behind, but in comparison, I mean, Sony had a lot of like big surprises, like Shenmue, Final Fantasy VII remake, and all that. But I think Microsoft really brought a lot more to the table, and that's what I was mentioning earlier. Sony came out the gate as a stronger console, but they need to continue to innovate, and Microsoft is really showing a lot more on the innovation portion of it rather than
yeah,
just saying, "Oh, we have a fast system." They're saying, "This is what we're going to do with our system. This is how we're going to
exactly.
expand on our system." And Sony's just like, "It's fast. You can buy a handheld, but nobody owns one."
Yeah, yeah, I'm really impressed with how Microsoft were handling the things with the system itself, especially with the backwards compatibility and everything. That really impressed me. Hey, hold on one second, Bobby.
Yeah, I was gonna see if we could possibly add.
Yeah, get him in here.
Cool. Google better than I do. I'll just search stuff on it.
Yeah, he's gonna try to get back with us. Said he's just gonna try to jump back in. Um, but
I
yeah,
forget.
I think Microsoft did a pretty good job. Now, the thing about Nintendo is that you would think that they would talk about the NX, with this all this hype that's been coming around it, but there was no talk of that at all. So that was pretty disappointing for me personally. Um,
I think I have a theory of Nintendo. I think at this point, like, I don't even think they know what they're doing with the NX yet. I think they're kind of getting their feet wet, trying to play with the like, what are we gonna do?